I'm about to show you what I call a palette etiquette demo, which means how do you behave on the palette. But before I do, I realize that there's some paint that needs to be scraped off of it. So I wanted to just show you some scrapers that you can purchase. This is the cheapest kind of scraper. The blade is held in just with a screw and it's not retractable. If you're not going anywhere, it's not a bad scraper to have, but you don't want to throw it into your bag and then reach in there looking for things and cut your finger on it. This is another next level up. It's a retractable scraper, and it's perfect, does the job well. And this is a slightly more expensive retractable scraper. Now, one thing is sometimes students come in, they buy it, and they go like this, and they say, oh, it's not working very well, and that's because the razor blade is actually, when you buy it, it's not installed properly. So the reason why some students find that they don't work well when they first buy them is that the razor blade comes the other way around for safety. So what you have to do is push it out and then carefully, try not to cut yourself, stick it back in, and then once you get it back in a little way, then you just push it in like this, and then you're ready to retract it like that. So this demonstration is really about how to mix paint. It's not about what colors should be on your palette. We will get to that at another point. But this is how you can learn to control the paint that you're putting down on the canvas. Just before I begin the demonstration, I want to talk about the way that historically palettes were used. So you may have seen the painter with the beret holding the wooden palette and painting, and you may not have ever thought about the color of the wood, but the color of the wood was very important. So what painters would do is they would put a ground down on their painting that was as similar to the color of their palette as possible. And that way, when they saw the paint on their palette, they knew how it would look when they put it on the painting. And that idea is really important to the demonstration that I'm going to show you, because often what I see students do is they're working away and they have a lot of paint already on their painting, and then they go to their palette and their palette is full of paint, and they're in this little groove between dried paint and and they're trying to mix up a color that's going to work on their painting, and they can't. They keep getting it wrong. And the reason that they're getting it wrong is because color always exists in relation to another color. So when you put your color down on your painting, you want to know how it's going to look, and you got to figure that out on your palette. So whenever you're mixing paint, let's say you have just a gray. It doesn't really matter what kind of gray at the moment. And I'm just going to good idea to keep your palette wet and your paint wet. So here's a dark gray. And let's pretend that I've just mixed this dark gray up and I've laid some of it down on a painting. So this dark gray is on my painting already. And the next thing that I want to do is put a lighter color down on the painting. So what I might do, I mean, just based on the colors that are here on the palette, is I might take a little bit of white. And then I'm going to mix it into the paint. And when I'm mixing it right next to the color that's already on the painting. And that way, See, this is like, this is like, if you could consider this a step, I'm hopefully the camera's picking this up, but this color's lighter than this color. But it's not that much lighter. If I put this color on my painting on top of the darker color next to it, it might not even look like a different color. So you want to have a step that's going to make sense, that you're going to be able to see, and it might be something like this. But now, so now I've got this color, and if I put it on top of the dark, I know how they're going to work together because they're side by side on the painting. Now let's say I wanted to, I realized that I needed a little bit of red to go in this gray. I can mix that red up right next to the gray. Maybe a little bit more. Again, I'm not exactly sure what the camera is going to be seeing, trying to make it so that it's visible to you. So there's a red that's right next to the gray, and I know how that's going to look on the gray. And if I want to see how it's going to look on the black or the dark, I can put it right next to it. And I can keep on doing the same thing. I can now add a little bit of white to that red. And maybe if I wanted another step, I can add more to it. But look, oh, I got way too much white there. But the nice thing about this is that I can go back and I can get a little bit of color. So I can alter what I've done, and I can always go back and check it. So eventually you begin to use up the colors that you've got on your palette. Like, you know, eventually this dark might get used up because I'm not putting anything on the painting right now. But you always have it there on your palette so that you can go and you can mix it right next to it. So if I wanted to mix this gray up again, I'm just going to clean my brush a little bit. And I can take a little bit of dark, and I can take a little bit of white. And quite quickly, I can get back to something quite similar. Still a little bit darker. But what I'm doing is I'm measuring this against this. So now I've got more of this gray if I need it, and I can begin to use it in other places. And I could add another color to this gray, and I could go off in this direction. Or I could get darker, and I could go off in this direction. But this is the way that you can really have a lot of control over the colors that you're mixing up and then putting on your painting. So what you need to do is actually, can you see my hand here? Mm-hmm. Is you need to, other side, push, it's not working. Okay. Stop.